Ukrainian UAVs hunted down a military transport train and erased it in motion.
Picture this. It's 2:15 inches the morning, December 18, 2025. The Kirch Bridge, a frozen artery of steel and concrete pumping the lifeblood of the Russian war machine, ammunition, fuel, missiles from mainland Russia into Crimea and onto the southern Ukrainian front. On the bridge, a train moves through the pitch black. In the surrounding darkness, a frenzy of activity. Russian radars paint the sky. Anti-aircraft guns track invisible threats. Interceptor missiles streak into the night, one after another. On the bridge itself, a train car is on fire. To the Russian commanders watching their screens, this is a victory. A threat detected, engaged, and eliminated routine. They believe they are in control. They are wrong. What they are seeing is not a Ukrainian attack failing. It is a Ukrainian attack beginning. And they have already lost. This is the moment their system, their multi-billion-dollar air defense network, their layers of radar and steel starts working against them. This is the breakdown of how a single train, disguised as a gesture of peace, became the centerpiece of a surgical strike that didn't just destroy a target, it rewrote the rules of modern engagement. Welcome to the breakdown. According to Moscow, the train rolling across the Kirch Bridge that night was a Christmas peace train, a humanitarian gesture, food, medicine, goodwill for the holiday season. A moral shield moving at 50 miles per hour. Ukrainian intelligence saw a different picture, a ghost. Satellite imagery showed the train's suspension compressed to its absolute limit. This wasn't bulky, lightweight aid. This was dense, concentrated mass. Thermal sensors picked up fierce, localized heat blooms from the center cars, the kind of signature you get from volatile, solid-fuel rocket engines and tightly packed artillery shells, not blankets and bandages. The math was undeniable. This train was carrying roughly 500 tons of munitions, enough artillery shells, missiles, and fuel to sustain a large-scale Russian offensive for 2 weeks. Moscow's humanitarian narrative was a calculated lie, a political weapon. But in warfare, a lie verified by fact isn't a shield, it's a target. And Ukraine had been waiting for a target like this. Think about that for a second. A regime uses a humanitarian symbol to mask a weapons shipment. What does that tell you about how modern conflicts are fought in the information space? Share your thoughts below. Ukraine didn't have stealth bombers, it didn't have cruise missiles to waste. What it had was ingenuity, built on desperation and asymmetric logic. The core idea? Don't send drones alone. Send a carrier in the air. That carrier was the Goliath Goglem, a heavy, hybrid, gasoline-electric UAV. Think of it as a semi-truck for drones. It could fly farther, carry more weight, and it wasn't coming to attack, it was coming to deliver. Its payload? 2 kinds of drones, cheap crude decoys and lethal FPV, first-person view attack drones. At sea, the same logic applied. The Mura-V unmanned surface vessel, a robotic boat, could slip through the waves, acting as a floating launch platform right under the noses of coastal defenses. The strategy was a masterclass in multi-directional pressure. Russia could no longer just look up. It had to look up, look out to sea, and look everywhere at once. Their defenses, however impressive on paper, were now stretched across multiple domains. This is the critical shift. Warfare is no longer about single points of failure. It's about simultaneous pressure from multiple vectors. Want a deeper dive on these mothership platforms, the Goliath and the Mura? Comment Mothership below and we'll make it the next video. At 2:15 a.m., the dance began. From the Goliath, decoy drones swarmed toward the bridge. They were slow, they were obvious. To Russian radar operators, they were inbound targets. The order was given, destroy them all. And they did. Pantsir missile systems fired. Anti-aircraft guns roared, their barrels glowing red hot. Radars spun, overwhelmed by tracks. Every single decoy was blown from the sky. On the Russian command screens, it looked like a flawless victory. A 100% interception rate, a perfect defense. It was a perfect trap. See, air defense isn't judged by what you shoot down. It's judged by what it costs you to shoot it down. Each of those interceptor missiles cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Each decoy drone, a few thousand. Russia had just spent millions of dollars to destroy a few $1,000s worth of disposable props. But the cost was deeper than money. Those missile systems now had empty launch tubes. Their guns needed to cool. Their radars were saturated. Their crews were buzzing with adrenaline, thinking they'd won. They were, in fact, exhausted, spent, and critically vulnerable. Ukraine's goal in Phase 1 was never to break through. It was to make the shield heavy, to drain it, fatigue it, and map its reactions. Russia won every engagement and lost the economic and tactical battle in the process. Let that sink in. In modern war, a 100% success rate can be a pathway to failure. Has the definition of victory in a firefight completely changed? Debate it in the comments. With Russian defenses panting from the first wave, Ukraine played its next card, a card the Russians had to answer. They launched a 360 Neptune anti-ship cruise missile. This was no decoy. This was a real, high-value, proven weapon. Letting it through was unthinkable. As expected, a Russian S-400 Triumph system, their top-tier air defense, locked on and intercepted the Neptune miles from the bridge. Another victory. Another explosion in the night sky. But this interception was the attack. The Neptune's warhead was specially modified. When the S-400 missile struck it, it didn't just explode, it bloomed. It released a massive cloud of multispectral aerosols and white-hot metal fragments. To human eyes, just a cloud. To Russian radars and infrared sensors, chaos. Radar waves scattered. Thermal sensors were flooded with false heat sources. For 2 critical minutes, the sophisticated S-400 system and everything linked to it wasn't destroyed. It was blinded. By its own successful intercept, Ukraine had used Russia's most advanced weapon to create a temporary sensor blackout. They didn't overpower the eyes of the enemy. They made the enemy's eyes work against themselves. Phase 2 is about vision, not firepower. If you can't see, you can't fight. How long do you think a modern military can operate effectively while partially blinded? In that window of confusion, those 120 seconds of Russian sensor blindness, the real assassin moved in. A second Gogol MUAV, silent and low, slipped into the blind spot. With Russian raiders scrubbing static, this drone didn't need to hide. It just had to be quiet. Using only passive optical and thermal cameras, it glided toward the burning train on the bridge. Its lenses zoomed in. The thermal imagery was conclusive. The intense, concentrated heat signatures matched the patterns of stored 122mm artillery shells and rocket propellant, not humanitarian aid. The target was confirmed. The train wasn't found by luck. It was reached because the path to it had been cleared not of defenders, but of their awareness. In modern warfare, a defense system doesn't need to be destroyed to fail. It just needs to lose sight at the wrong moment. Now, with the target confirmed and defenses still reeling, came the kill shot. From the sea-based Muravi USV and the lingering Goliath, 6 FPV attack drones launched. But these weren't your typical radio-controlled weapons. These were something new. They had been pre-programmed with the train's image and thermal profile, their radio links were severed at launch, they operated fully autonomously, guided by onboard AI. Russian electronic warfare systems designed to jam radio signals scanned the ether, finding nothing to jam. The drones were ghosts in the machine, flying on a brain of their own. Each carried a PG-7 VL-shaped charge warhead, designed to pierce armor. They weaved under anti-drone nets, flying low and fast. They didn't search, they knew. The first one struck a central railcar. The shaped charge focused its explosion into a jet of molten metal, slicing through the steel shell and detonating inside. Then, the chain reaction. 500 tons of munitions began to cook off. Artillery shells exploded in sympathetic detonations. Solid rocket fuel ignited, burning at over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, a heat so intense it didn't just melt steel rails, it turned them into twisted, glowing slag. The bridge deck itself, subjected to this sustained inferno, cracked and spalled. Its structural integrity was compromised in minutes. The Christmas peace train and the critical rail line beneath it were vaporized in a fireball visible from space. Russia's 24-hour express pipeline to the southern front was severed, not for days, but for months. The era of the autonomous, AI-guided, jam-proof drone is here. Is this the single biggest game changer on the battlefield since the machine gun? Hit like if you want a full technical breakdown of this new drone tech. Let's talk numbers, because they tell the real story. Ukraine's estimated cost to $200,000 for drones, fuel, and planning. Russia's losses, the train and 500 tons of munitions. $50 plus million, dozens of expended advanced interceptor missiles, tens of millions more. Strategic logistical damage. A key bridge crippled for months, offensive plans stalled, supply lines forced onto slow, vulnerable ferries. Analysts put the total operational cost in the hundreds of millions, if not billions. This is the new calculus of war. A $250,000 operation can trigger $500 million in damage and strategic paralysis. It's no longer about who has the most expensive equipment. It's about who can force the enemy to spend their expensive equipment against cheap, smart, and relentless alternatives. The Goliath and Mura motherships returned to base. Their mission was over. They left behind a smoldering monument to a fundamental lesson. In 2025, warfare is a contest of efficiency, adaptation, and systemic understanding. You can have the best air defense in the world, but if it can be drained, distracted, and blinded by a sequence of cheaper systems, you will lose. You will lose even while your screens tell you you're winning. Ukraine's strike on the Kirch Bridge wasn't just a tactical victory, it was a blueprint, a demonstration that the rules have changed, and that the greatest vulnerability of any modern military is the belief that its old systems are enough. This is the breakdown. The lesson is clear. Perfect defense is a myth. The winner will be the side that best understands how to make the enemy's strength their weakness. Stay focused, stay informed. We want to hear from you. What should we break down next? The AI in those final FPV drones? the sensor-blinding aerosol warhead tech, or the long-term strategic impact of cutting rail lines like Kirch? Let us know in the comments. Most requested topic gets the deep dive. Until next time.